Followed by Maurice Corrie.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. I only joined the Equalities and Human Rights Committee in September, and it's been a pleasure to serve on it because all members, under the quiet but nonetheless determined stewardship of the convener Ruth Maguire, come to committee with a deep commitment to a fairer Scotland, but also with a very genuine desire to work together. And this has been evident in our scrutiny of the Female Genital Mutilation Bill, which led to the presentation of a unanimous Stage 1 report to the Government. And I'm pleased that the Minister's response to committee has been equally collaborative. As we know, FGM is illegal, and the purpose of this bill is to update and strengthen protection for women and girls at risk of this practice by creating new protection orders and putting guidance on a statutory footing. FGM is a fundamental violation of human rights. It's a manifestation of deep-rooted gender inequality. It's a breach of international law and causes short and long-term physical and psychological harm, and there are absolutely no health benefits from it. The bill was widely supported by stakeholders, but crucially it was informed by the lived experience of survivors. And Elaine Smith powerfully quoted earlier the testimony, the personal testimony of Nineve Bojang. And as the Minister said in her opening remarks, if this bill prevents even just one woman from going through the trauma of FGM, it will have been worthwhile. And it is crucial, Presiding Officer, that the voices and the testimony of women and their communities is at the very heart of engagement and the development of statutory guidance in particular. The experts are those with lived experience, and we need to make an enduring commitment to survivors that participation and engagement is ongoing and not a one-off event. And this approach is absolutely essential to minimise the risk of stigmatisation and even racialisation as expressed by some committee witnesses. And in her evidence to committee, the Minister and the convener in her opening remarks today rightly state that FGM has been practised across many countries, many continents and communities and belief systems for about 5,000 years, and it is indeed a global issue. One of the many complex issues that committee wrestled with was the lifelong automatic anonymity for survivors. And there were mixed views about this, and at present in Scotland, these matters are decided by the courts on a case-by-case basis. But after much thought and deliberation, committee concluded that it is the views and wishes of individual survivors in individual cases that should be paramount and central to court considerations. And I know the Minister, along with other matters, made a commitment to reflect and come back before Stage 2. There was also an acceptance that, based on the evidence heard and received by committee and not politics, that this legislation should be different to what exists south of the border. And again, there was a cross-party concern about the lack of consistency in the treatment and consideration of FGM within the asylum system, therefore leading to a lack of protection for women in the asylum system. Again, points made by both Elaine Smith and Patrick Harvey. And collectively, the Equalities and Human Rights Committee, I believe, has worked very hard to both test and tease out the added value of this bill, given that FGM is currently illegal, there are existing child protection measures, there's a national action plan to prevent and eradicate FGM, and a very honest reflection that legislation alone is rarely a silver bullet, particularly for crimes that are often hidden. But when you consider the need to protect women and girls of all ages, to better support 16 and 17-year-olds who are not always captured by the children's hearing system, and the need to build quite bespoke measures for both protection and support, I believe the case for this legislation is very well made. So I want to say well done to the Minister on what I believe is her first bill in her current role, and I want to thank her team and also the committee clerks.